If you think you're going to walk into Dollar Tree 6 months from now and stock your emergency pantry for $1.25 an item, you are dead wrong. Right now, behind closed doors, Dollar Tree is aggressively rolling out what they call their 3.0 multi-price format. That means those dirt-cheap survival staples you've been quietly stockpiling? They are being phased out, shrunk down in size, or slapped with $3, $5, and even $9 price tags to cater to higher-income shoppers. In my 15 years as a survival consultant and frugal prepping expert, I've never seen a retail shift happen this fast. And look, I get it. When you're trying to build a rock-solid emergency stockpile on a tight budget to protect your family from inflation and supply chain snaps, every single penny counts. Watching your go-to-budget store suddenly double or triple its prices feels like a massive punch to the gut. But here's the secret. The transition isn't finished yet. There is a massive, rapidly closing window of opportunity right now to grab high-value, life-saving preps at the legacy price before corporate completely wipes them off the shelves. Walk straight past the seasonal junk today and head directly to the health aisle. You need to clear the shelf of name-brand and high-quality generic pain relievers, antidiarrheal meds, and triple antibiotic ointments. Now, you might be asking, why are these specific items disappearing? It comes down to raw profit margins. Dollar Tree is currently taking a massive hit, keeping these critical medical supplies at $1.25. Competitors are selling the exact same active ingredients for $6 to $8 a tube. Corporate knows this. They are already testing $4 and $5 price points for basic first aid kits in their newly converted stores. When the grid goes down or a major storm hits, you won't care about a fancy $5 seasonal decoration. You are going to care about preventing a life-threatening infection. Grab the antibiotic creams while they still exist at this price. But it gets worse. Let's talk about a prep that most people completely ignore until it's far too late. Heavy-duty aluminum foil. Listen, foil isn't just for wrapping up your leftover casseroles. In a survival situation, it's a makeshift cooking vessel, a solar reflector, a waterproofing layer, and a crucial tool for sanitation. Right now, you can still find decent-sized rolls for pocket change. But if you look at the recent retail supply chain reports, aluminum products are one of the very first categories getting pushed into that new higher pricing tier because of skyrocketing raw material costs and new import tariffs. The days of cheap metal goods are officially over. You need to grab 10 rolls right now, toss them in a waterproof bin, and forget about them. Which brings us to something that sounds crazy, but stick with me. You need to buy pure, unscented liquid bleach. You do not want the lavender-scented stuff. You do not want the splashless version. You need plain, basic sodium hypochlorite. Why? Because just a few drops of this exact bleach will purify a gallon of questionable water. It is literally a lifesaver in a plastic jug. Here is the problem we are facing. Dollar Tree is actively redesigning their cleaning aisles to make room for aesthetically pleasing, brand name, $5 cleaners. The basic, unglamorous jugs of pure bleach that prep-minded folks have relied on for decades take up way too much shelf space and yield way too little profit for the company. They are getting squeezed out. Buy 3 or 4 jugs today, store them in a cool, dark place, and rotate them out yearly. Let's pivot over to lighting. You might think AA batteries are the ultimate lighting prep, but wait until you see what's happening to the candle aisle. Historically, this store has been the absolute best place in the country to buy tall, glass jar prayer candles. If you know, you know. These things burn for nearly 80 hours straight. But here is the harsh reality check. The company is pivoting hard into the home decor market. They want to sell you a $5 soy wax candle that smells like a pumpkin spice latte, not an 80-hour utility candle for $1.25. I've already seen these survival staples vanishing from store layouts in my area to make room for expensive, low-burn time decorative junk. When the power grid fails for a week, a vanilla-scented candle isn't going to get your family through the blackout. You can have all the 80-hour candles in the world, though, and they are completely useless if you can't ignite them. That leads us directly to the checkout aisle, specifically the multi-packs of butane lighters and strike anywhere matches. Currently, you can still occasionally find a 3-pack or 4-pack of basic lighters for standard price. But let me tell you what my inside retail sources are seeing. Because of the new multi-price tiers, the stores are actively breaking down these value packs. Very soon, you'll be paying $2 or $3 for a single, fancy name brand lighter instead of getting a multi-pack for practically nothing. Fire is your absolute #1 priority for boiling water, cooking food, and staying warm. Grab the multi-packs every single time you walk through those sliding doors before they are gone for good. If you're realizing just how fast these budget preps are slipping through our fingers, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. We are building a tight-knit community of smart, prepared, and budget-conscious people who stay one step ahead of these corporate changes. And I want you on the inside. Now, let's talk about the food aisle, because the changes happening there are going to shock you even more. Let's talk about canned proteins. Canned chicken, tuna, and those generic luncheon meats have been the absolute bedrock of a budget prepper's pantry for decades. But if you walk down the grocery aisle today, you are looking at ground zero for corporate shrinkflation and the new multi-price tier system. Corporate is aggressively rolling out their 3.0 store format nationwide, which brings in huge refrigerated sections and brand-name frozen foods. To make room for those high-margin coolers, they are actively squeezing out the low-margin canned meats. The cans that used to be a full 5 ounces are suddenly sitting at 3 ounces for the exact same price. Meanwhile, the larger, family-sized cans are getting slapped with $3 and $5 tags. You need to load up a cart with the legacy $1.25 canned proteins right now. In 6 months, the calorie-to-dollar ratio on these shelves is going to be completely upside down, and you will be priced right out of your own emergency food supply. But it isn't just the meat that is vanishing. Let's look at a prep that prevents what survival experts call appetite fatigue: your salt, pepper, and bouillon cubes. Look, if you are forced to feed your family plain rice and beans for a month during an economic crisis, they are going to rebel. Spices are a massive morale multiplier. Historically, this store offered massive, high-value shakers of garlic powder, iodized salt, and chicken bouillon for pennies. Not anymore. I'm seeing entire spice sections being completely gutted and replaced with premium, name-brand spice blends priced at $3, $4, and $5. Retail executives know that middle-class shoppers are trading down due to inflation, and they are restocking the shelves to cater to them, not to budget-conscious preppers. Grab the basic, high-volume generic spices before they are entirely replaced by the expensive, fancy stuff. Now, we need to have a highly uncomfortable conversation about sanitation. When the power grid fails and the city water stops flowing, your toilets stop working. It is a brutal, undeniable reality of any grid-down scenario. For years, savvy preppers have cleared the shelves of those small count boxes of heavy-duty, thick plastic trash bags to line their emergency buckets. Here is the problem we are staring down. Plastic resin and import costs are through the roof. Dollar Tree is quietly phasing out the thick, durable generic bags and replacing them with incredibly thin, lower-count rolls. Or worse, they are pushing you toward a name-brand box that costs $5 to $7. A cheap, thin trash bag is a catastrophic failure waiting to happen in an emergency toilet setup. You need to secure the absolute thickest generic bags you can find on those bottom shelves today before they swap the inventory. Which leads us to another critical liquid that is quietly disappearing from the health aisle: 70% isopropyl rubbing alcohol and hydrogen peroxide. We talked about antibiotic ointments earlier, but these liquids are your primary wound cleaning and surface sterilizing agents. In a true crisis, a sealed bottle of rubbing alcohol is practically gold. They used to sell these in substantial 16-ounce bottles. Now, you are lucky to find an 8-ounce bottle, and in the newly converted stores, they are actively pushing larger name brand bottles into the $3 and $4 tiers. Infection is one of the leading causes of mortality in a long-term disaster. When you see the full-size generic bottles of alcohol and peroxide for $1.25, you don't just buy one. You buy the entire cardboard tray. Let me drop one more truth bomb on you before we move on. Duct tape. We all know the old joke that duct tape fixes everything, but in a survival situation, it repairs busted tarps, seals broken windows against chemical threats, and can even act as a heavy-duty emergency bandage wrap. If you look closely at the hardware aisle right now, the rolls of standard silver duct tape are becoming paper-thin. The yardage per roll is shrinking drastically. Why? Because the company is making way for premium adhesives like Gorilla Tape, which they are more than happy to sell you for $5 or $7 a pop. The era of grabbing 5 thick rolls of utility tape for a few bucks is ending as we speak. If you are getting real value out of this inside retail intelligence, do me a huge favor and smash that like button. It tells the algorithm to push this critical warning out to other people who are desperately trying to prepare their families on a fixed budget. But hold on tight, because what they are doing to the water storage and personal hygiene aisles is going to make you completely rethink your entire prepping strategy. Let's get into the final items. We need to talk about your water supply, and specifically, the absolute cheapest, most effective pre-filtration system on the planet. Plain, generic basket coffee filters. If you have ever tried to process muddy river water through an expensive microfilter, you know it clogs the ceramic element almost instantly. Savvy preppers have always used a stack of cheap paper coffee filters to strain out the heavy sediment first. For $1.25, you used to walk out with a massive, multi-hundred count sleeve of these lifesavers. Here is the brutal truth. Dollar Tree is rapidly scaling down their basic paper goods to make shelf space for premium, single-serve coffee pod accessories. The massive sleeves of generic filters are quietly being replaced by much smaller counts, and in some of the newly remodeled 3.0 stores, they are pushing brand-name filters that cost $3 or $4 a pack. Your ability to pre-filter hundreds of gallons of water for pocket change is evaporating. Buy 5 sleeves today and throw them in your supply bin. Next up, multi-pack bar soap. When the world turns upside down, personal hygiene isn't just about smelling good. It is about stopping the spread of deadly bacteria in a grid-down camp. Historically, this was the greatest place in America to stock up on 3-packs and 4-packs of basic, unscented bar soap. It is incredibly cheap, lasts forever, and makes a fantastic barter item. But look closely at the bath aisle this week. Those budget-friendly 3-packs are breaking down into 2-packs, and sometimes even single bars, for that exact same legacy price. Retail executives know that selling you a fancy, $5 bottle of exfoliating body wash yields a massive profit margin, while a 3-pack of basic soap barely breaks even. They are squeezing the survival basics out to force you into higher-tier spending. Grab the multi-packs of plain bar soap while they are still physically on the shelf. Finally, we arrive at the ultimate medical and gear repair prep, multi-packs of liquid superglue. In a true emergency, cyanoacrylate, the active ingredient in superglue, is a miracle worker. It can seal small, clean cuts when you don't have sutures. It patches torn water bladders, and it repairs broken tactical gear in seconds. The absolute best way to buy it has always been the multi-packs of tiny, single-use tubes from the hardware aisle. So if one tube dries out, you haven't lost your whole supply. Now, you might be asking, why are these vanishing? The company is moving heavily toward name-brand hardware items. Those high-value generic multi-packs are being replaced by single, larger tubes of brand-name adhesives priced at $3, $4, and $5. You are losing the redundancy and the value all at once. Listen, the retail landscape is shifting faster than most people realize, and the era of the one-stop budget survival run is coming to a very abrupt end. Get to the store, secure these 13 items at the legacy prices, and protect your family's future before corporate makes the decision for you. Stay smart, stay safe, and I will see you in the next video.